Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of World of Tanks with Gitbag the Great. Now, I know in my rant episode on Monday I was a little bit clusterfucked, shall we say, in my narrative, in that I was ranting a bit. I wasn't really ranting about anything coherent, to be honest. I was just, I don't know, I was just how shall you say, trying to give it a little bit of an update and just whatever stuff was going on in my life that wasn't really relevant or suitable for a podcast. So that's kind of why I made the rant video on Monday. And I've decided now that the proper schedule for this channel from this point onwards will be Mondays will be just random videos, like, you know, subscriber specials, rants, reviews, maybe, Tuesdays and Thursdays will be a Let's Play, and then Wednesdays will be World of Tanks, and then Fridays will be podcasts and discussions. So I mean, of course, sometimes if I don't fancy doing a World of Tanks video on Wednesdays, I might do a World of Warships video, and sometimes I might do something different on Fridays if there's no one around to do a podcast with. But that's just going to be the basic, rough sort of format for this channel from this point on for the foreseeable future. But today, of course, as promised, I have you guys a nice little World of Tanks video where I've just been having a few really good matches recently, shall we say. Here's the first one, which is me on Winterberg in my favourite tank. Pardon me. My favourite tank in the entire game, the T-34-85 Tier 6 Soviet medium tank. This is a legendary piece of military engineering. It was used quite extensively in the Second World War, and was based off of the original design of the T-34-76 to combat the oncoming danger of the German Panther and Tiger tanks on account of its heavier turret armour and much more powerful 85mm gun, in addition with a slightly stronger engine. So this is a very dangerous tank. It's an all-rounder really of medium tanks and World of Tanks. It's not very heavily armoured as most, if not every, Tier 6 medium tank is, but its frontal armour and its reasonably strong gun mantlet mean that in frontal assaults it is quite strong. It's not as nimble or quick as say the Easy 8 or the Cromwell, but most other Tier 6 tanks in the game is, in a comparable sense, it is very manoeuvrable, extremely dangerous when used in a sort of line tank sort of raiding way, or at least a balance between the two. It isn't the most mobile or quick, so it isn't the best raider tank, but if in the hands of like an experienced player who knows what to do with it, it can prove very dangerous, considering that it has, you know, a very quick fire rate of about 5.5, just over 5 seconds, and that's after fitting a gun runner, so it's got a very good rate of fire. It's very good rate of fire, and the penetration on it is enough to get through the sides of tanks like the OI, as you saw there. But in this match you'll see me doing pretty well. It's a mostly uneventful match really, we kind of just steamrolled over the other team here, but it's just at this last bit where I just got an exceedingly large number of kills. I didn't do a huge amount of damage in this game. I only did about 1,800, I think, but I just got quite a few kills. I ended up getting 5 overall, and I mean, I just feel like I have a particular connection with the T-34-85 that allows me to play a lot more confidently in it than I might with a lot of other mid-tier medium tanks. I mean, medium tanks, particularly in middle tier, are my kind of favourite things to play as in World of Tanks, so I do feel the most confident when I'm playing something like this, but the T-34-85 in particular is something I feel a lot closer to than a lot of mid-tier medium tanks. But yeah, this match was kind of just a bit of a slaughter, to be honest, as you can quite clearly see there. So, going from one tank I feel I've been doing very well in recently to another, the E-75 Tier 9 German heavy tank. Now, this is of course very much a different tank to the T-34-85. which itself is, you know, a quick, nimble, mid-tier, medium tank with light but well-designed frontal armour and a snipingly powerful, accurate 85mm main gun. The 75, on the other hand, is a straight-up brawler. This is a high-tier monster of the utmost degree, and it is one of the most feared tanks at tier 9 in the entire game. This is, for the longest time, been recognised as one of the premier leaders of the top-tier heavy tanks, you know, genre. And it's easy to see why. It's not got as heavily impenetrable frontal armour as the other German tier 9 heavy tank, the VK, but its frontal armour is still more than enough to take care of most heavy attacks, such as the main gun of the KV-4 there. The gun itself is, of course, much less accurate than the T-34-85s, which is a funny little trend with higher tier German heavy tanks, actually. Most German heavy tanks tend to have quite accurate guns up until tier 9 on both German heavy tank trees, and the E-75 is no exception. The Tiger II's 85 and 105mm guns are both exceptionally accurate, high accuracy, pinpoint sniping weapons, whereas the E-75's, both of its 128mm guns are rather inaccurate and are purely designed for blasting at mid to short range ranges and, you know, brawling essentially. It's a full-on brawler with heavy frontal armour both on the turret and the hull, and decent armour on the sides as well, and an inaccurate but high penetration and brutally powerful gun. The gun isn't the most reliable, of course, in its accuracy, and perhaps not as unreliable in its penetration, but still a little bit sketchy in the penetration. It's not as bad as, say, some of the higher tiered Chinese heavy guns in their penetration value, but even still, if you're into like straight up brawling, I'd give the E-75 a check out, because while I like myself some quick paced medium tank combat, the E-75 is definitely one to get. And as you can see here, while I am taking damage from the KV-4's high explosive ammo, the sheer thickness of the armour on the E-75, particularly when side scraping, means that you can take a great deal of punishment when you angle your tank properly in this thing. I mean, it is pretty brutal in street fights, and you know, when you get onto Erlenberg and you go down the side street, you can do some serious damage in this thing if you use it correctly. I mean, it's not the most mobile, of course, unlike, say, you know, the mid-tier German heavy tanks, but at the same time, it's pretty damn good overall. I would definitely give this a recommendation. Now, this is another sort of 5-kill charnel house match on Fisherman's Bay this time. Very different map to Winterberg. But this is a much more harder match, because chances are, while most players on random battles are going to have their heads up their own arses while eating their own last night's dinner, chances are the higher tier you go, the more likely you are to get a higher proportion of more greatly skilled players, or a higher proportion of players that are in the higher bracket of greater skills and win rates in your particular server. And this seemed to be the case in this game, because for the longest time it was very, very close. It was very, very narrow, and I mean, my team wasn't bad, but there were a few bad eggs that sort of just mucked up around here and there. A bit unfortunate with the bounce there, but at the same time the T-110's sidearm is mostly tracks anyway, and he was angled quite well. Just waiting for the gun to reload while I start to get around this corner, and again, the tracks and the side armour of the E-75 just eat a shot from the Object 704 of all things, you know, the troll cannon's big ugly cousin. But at this point I kind of thought, well, should I go around that corner? Because there is a lot of heavy tanks around there, but then they all started dying quickly, and they were all reduced to really low health, so I thought I'd push round. And this is the point where our team started to make a bit of a comeback. And for a point here, it did look like we were going to steamroll them over, but then they started to fall back to the the road, I don't know if you can see it on the 3 line going down, and took up position around there and started sniping the hell out of us. And then their medium tanks after a while began to outflank us. So this did get a bit intense after this, even though we made our comeback, and I'm just putting the absolute hurt into the 704 here. Very unfortunate. I mean, the 704 itself isn't that heavily armoured, but the main strength of the tank is, of course, its stealth and its massive 152mm gun. The BL-10 is absolutely superb on the 704. Slightly higher fire rate than on the 152, but it is truly a superb tank destroyer, the 704. That guy was very unfortunate in that he got caught out right in the open. You could make the argument that he shouldn't have been there, but at the same time, his team was being outflanked. He had to kind of push forward at some point, but at the same time, it's unfortunate that he was in a tank that, while having great stealth value and an amazing gun, he just wasn't, you know, his tank. Look, the Object 704 isn't particularly heavily armoured. Its main strength is its gun and its stealth value. Much like the E-75's isn't its manoeuvrability yet, I'm still going back to deal with this RU-251 who has decided to try and cap our base. And fair play to him, he stood his ground very stoically, but I just thought it would have been a slightly better idea for him to, the moment one of us tried to appear and to take him out, to, you know, bolt it. Unfortunately, while I was, you know, hunting him down, I didn't notice the Ferdinand hit me in, appear on the ridgeline there, and it hit me inside and unfortunately damaged my engine. And the E-75, while, you know, having a good frontal straight line speed, such as the, you know, the SU-152 or the ISU-152, turning around side to side, and in its trajectory, it doesn't have great manoeuvrability. Going forward, it's quite quick because of its weight and the power of its engine, but even still, I wouldn't put too much hope on it, really, when you're trying to outdo a something like a RU-251 in a dogfight. Hell, I probably would even advise against that, particularly in an open space like this. Fortunately enough, that RU-251 seemed to forget what the meaning of his tank being a scout was, and decided to stand there and just get absolutely pulverised by our medium tanks. And we've now discovered where the two last players are. They're like on that little sort of like villa sort of rise bit just overlooking our cap circle, and while they're heavily outnumbered, they're certainly not outgunned. The RHM, I think, has the second top gun, which is an amazing gun on that tank, and the ISU definitely has the BL-10. So, considering how stealthy those two tanks are, and considering the power of their guns, it's going to be a bit of a tricky go to dig them out their holes, especially when they've just killed our T-55A. And what's more is that that ISU, I felt a bit worried at this point because I saw he'd had gotten 4 kills, and I just thought, can't really risk going out there by myself, can I? With you know, not even a fifth of my health left, damaged engine, damaged tracks, and he's got 4 kills. Not to mention the fact he's joined by one of the most stealthiest machines in the game. So I decided to try and inch close to the rocks just in front of our cap circle, and try and take some cover and hopefully draw their fire a bit. And I say to the KV-3 in a bit to go with our Tiger 2 and try and cap with him. He kind of sort of did both. He kind of sort of went close to the middle in order to get a bit of an overwatch position, which kind of ended up helping us a lot, actually. So, you know, fair play to him. He actually did have a good game. He didn't do the most amazing, but he did pretty well. I mean, you can see me typing there. I really can't like move that well, considering the fact that I've got a damaged engine. And of course, at this point, once the Tiger 2 starts capping, you've got to expect the 2 enemy tank destroyers to be communicating with each other, because while the RHM isn't the most manoeuvrable, the ISU, if it goes back, could definitely deal with the Tiger II, considering it has 4 kills, and the RHM has got decent view range and is quite stealthy. If the ISU goes back and the RHM stays, then they could defeat us easily. But they do the exact opposite of what they should do, and the RHM, which is the least manoeuvrable out of the two, goes out and suddenly goes into the open firing range of a E75 and a KV3. So, not the best decision, and the ISU seems to be unwanting to venture out and help his fellow tank destroyer. So, yeah, not the best decision making on those 2 tank destroyers' parts. I genuinely think if the ISU had gone full throttle back down that side road towards their own base, he could have easily caught up, maybe put a clutch shot into the Tiger II and stopped the cap, leaving the RHM to overwatch our base and keep an eye out on me and the KV3, sorry. Unfortunately, I don't know why they didn't do that, but hell, it netted me a 5th kill, so I'm not complaining. And then the Tiger II capped for some reason, as to why I'm not entirely sure, because if he'd come back we could have easily killed the ISU 152, but there you go, another win's a win. And now we go over to Derpenberg for a short little interlude where we try to take fire at the Yay Panther in our Tier 5 French Premium Arty, and then see the T-20 as derped entirely out of his brain. Oh my word. What's this map called again? Erlenberg? Yeah, Derpenberg seems a lot more appropriate to me, to be honest with you. I'm gonna be perfectly honest. Right, well, I hope you've had a nice little interlude there. Just a good quick opportunity to you know, get yourself a nice little glass of lemonade, a couple of biscuits, quickly take a pee break in the toilet, and now we get on to some equally stupid shit where I start up a battle on Fisherman's Bay in my Batchat 25T and immediately damage my tracks. Oh, what a good one. Yeah, no, playing this game for the first time in a while after not playing it for a few months is starting to tell, I think. But yeah, this is a bit more of a, as you can see, physically demanding battle, considering that I'm now in a tier 10 as compared to a tier 9 on Fisherman's Bay. It's a much harder tank to get used to in comparison to the E75, and it's mostly tier 10. So yeah, this is going to be a bit of a tricky one, and unfortunately, unlike the opposing team, we don't have any tier 10 tank destroyers, and I suppose the plus side to that is that we at least have one more tier 10 heavy than they do. We have the Emperor Lowry, as I like to call it, the tier 10 premium VK, as you can see right there. He was alright in this match, that guy. He did well for the first like 5 minutes, and then he kind of just made a couple of mistakes. I think he does end up dying in this match, which is a bit sad, but I mean, I think that tank, as far as I've heard, is also quite tricky to get a hang of at first, so hopefully he's had better experiences in it than this match, but he did do alright, to be fair. In fact, this team was in general pretty decent, actually. I think the only team I had in any one of these games in this video that was not particularly great was probably the one we had in the E75 replay, because they just kept dropping like flies. There were a few really good people in that team, like the Tiger II and the KV3 at the end. Not to mention our tank destroyers in that game were also very good. But apart from that, the teams I had in all of these replays were all pretty decent. So, you know, happy days, really. It's not often you get a consistently good team on World of Tanks, and I was quite fortunate in these few matches. I've been getting alright teams recently, not like amazing ones, but, you know, good sort of like workman ones that, you know, you can rely on to, you know, do the competent things, you know, that require you to, you know, get a solid experience out of the match. And now, at this point, I decided, after spotting that Lorraine 40T up there a couple of times, to just move up, and yeah, bit unfortunate for him there. I don't know if he started raging in the chat there, but he probably did start raging in team chat or immediately rage quit because, yeah, I mean, when you've just jumped into a game with what is probably your highest tier tank or one of your highest tiered tanks, and you almost immediately get spotted by a Batchat and then get insta-killed by a Gvari 100, yeah, it's probably going to colour your impression of high tier mediums and artillery a little bit, I guess, isn't it? But I was really pleased with that, to be honest, in my defence. You know, 1,600 spotting damage almost immediately at the start of the game, and then I start really sort of pestering this Jagdpanzer 100, put a good shot into him, tracked him a couple of times, and put another good shot into his underplate. Then the tier 10 VK moves forwards, gets a big hit on him there from Arty, and then an absolutely horrible punch in the face from the Jägeru. So now he's on barely a quarter of his health, so he's not having the best times, to be fair. Jägeru isn't having the best of it either. He's been absolutely battered. But this little replay here is just going to show you that while not all high-tier medium tanks are perhaps the most manoeuvrable, the Batchat is probably the most manoeuvrable and capable of hunting out sort of holes and sort of gaps in the enemy's defensive line that you can then exploit using this machine's manoeuvrability and autoloader. As you saw there, I was able to move up quickly against the Lorraine 40T and getting spotted for our arty, and was able to do the same for the Jägeru there, to be fair. In fact, I think this was one of the ones I got the most spotting damage out of in a long time. I think I ended up getting about 2.8 thousand spotting damage in this game, and did about just over... I did just under 2,000 damage myself. So this was a good game. Didn't really do that much overall, but considering the amount of spotting damage I did, I'm more than pleased with the fact that I at least got a spot and a third class mastery badge. So take that as you will, despite the absolutely nonsensical bounce there at the end. So, to cap off the difficult and hardened battles we've had so far in this game, or this video rather, I thought I'd give you guys a nice little treat to end things off with this fine Wednesday day, and give you a nice little battle where I jumped into my ELC AMX Bis Tier 5 French light tank, and actually found a team that was quite capable of teamwork. I know, it's surprising, isn't it? On random battles as well. This team was actually quite good. We actually worked together quite well, and there's two other Tier 5 French light tanks, two other ELC AMXs here on this team, like myself, and we all worked together quite well. We all got out of each other's way, as you saw when there was artillery coming in, and we worked together to coordinate our scouting and gun runs on the opposing enemy team. Now, as you can see, the ELC AMX has a fixed gun in that can only turn a certain number of degrees. Although considering it, and on top of that, it has probably the worst aim time out of any mid-tier light tank ever. But the 90mm gun it does have is more than worth it. This thing can pack a nasty punch. But you'll see the team up here. Me and the ELC AMX there, right behind me. Kuba 380, who charging in from the front, blast that Panzer 38A in the face, and then Martin 33. Jesus Christ, 333, finishes the guy off with the shot to the rear, and then of course puts in another executioner's shot from the vantage point on the ridge there. But as you can see, the three of us cooperated quite nicely there to take out two of their most nimble and mobile tanks in order to, you know, give our heavier machines a bit of a chance to move up without being spotted too early. So a nice bit of teamwork there from us ELC AMXs, and already the enemy team is 6-0 down, so it's turning into a bit of a rout already, to be honest. The Kuba does get a bit unlucky there as he runs into an AT-15A and SU-152 and gets promptly slaughtered. I get a little bit of hurt put into me by the T-34, and I tried to hit him in his turret in order to penetrate him frontally, but through the turret gun mantle, because the gun mantle on the T-34-76 isn't great. I decided to go in closer and try and shotgun him, and say what we will about the 90mm gun on the ELC-MX, but it certainly has some good close-range capabilities, that's for certain. And the enemy have managed to pull three tanks back, but now that they're 10-3 down, I don't think there's really any possibility for them. The AT-15A I'm never going to penetrate in a million years, so me and Martin 333 decide to spread out and divide the AT-15A's fire and, you know, divert his fire away from the medium tanks trying to creep around his rear in order to go artillery hunting, the best pastime of the light tank. I take out the gorilla, but unfortunately Martin 333 there gets annihilated by the enemy tank destroyers. So to Martin 333 and Kuba 380, if you guys end up watching this video at some point, it was a pleasure playing with you guys, and as for you viewers, it was a pleasure making this video. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did making it and playing it, and of course until next time, I'll see you guys on the battlefield.